Well, here we are in week 3. If you're following along as I post, then we are about a week away from a winter break as educators, and you know that you deserve any rest that you're going to get over the holidays. I know sometimes the holidays can be a stressful one for lots of different reasons, and so if that's true for you, hopefully the time that you spend with me today will help you relax and prepare yourself for those times. If just getting through this week with students before that longer break is something that feels really stressful, and I remember those days myself, and I'm right there with you this week, then hopefully some of the breath work that I'm going to share with you to start us off is going to be something that will be helpful and effective, in addition to just sewing and letting go. That's going to happen in a little bit. So I wanted to select the Ha breath because there's 2 different versions. The first one is really more breathful, and it's really like a softer sound that comes out in the exhalation. And then the second one is more forceful. Now, I honestly find the second one more therapeutic, even though I can't necessarily sustain it for as long as the first version. But also, I feel like if I have my children home or my husband home, then I feel less inclined to do the louder one. But I feel like because it's forceful, it releases a little bit more energy for me, and I'm better able to relax. So you try with both versions and pick and select the one that works best for you. Maybe you'll do it at school during a planning period. Maybe you'll do it when you get in the car, on the way home, at home. That's the beauty about breath work. You can do it pretty much anytime. So as with our square breathing, we're going to inhale for a count of 4. And then we're going to exhale with the softer breath. We're going to try to get to a count of 8, really releasing. And as we exhale, we're going to actually say, ha. Now the second time, we're going to do the same process. Inhale for a count of 4. We're going to say, ha. We're going to forcefully release. We may get to 8, we may get to 4, we may get to 2. It just depends. But the idea is really just getting that air out and releasing and tightening the space up here within our neck and releasing a lot more energy. So let's practice that together. So we're going to count for 4 in, and we're going to do 8 out for the softer breath. We're going to try that one first. Are you ready? Now remember to inhale through your nose always. This time we're going to exhale through our mouth. Inhale. How'd you do? Did you make it for a count of 8? Nice. If not, you can keep practicing, see if you can get longer. We're going to try the second one. Inhale for 4, exhale for as long as we can hold that louder ha sound, and see how you can release. Ready? Now, that was a little bit softer than maybe I really would do if I were at home. And you try out just how forceful you can do. I only got to about a 4, and I already feel the tensions releasing a little bit, and hopefully you do as well. So let's go ahead and get into our practice of Sew and Let Go. Hello friends, and happy Monday once again. I hope that new Ha breath is something that you will find a good transition into some thoughtful relaxation practice with me today. So, what are you letting go today? What is the intention you're coming with? We're going to do some work together. I'm going to take my piece again. For those of you who are just joining, we have taken some different scraps and either penned or did a little bit of fabric glue and just put them on a larger piece. Now, some of us are just working with one larger piece and sewing all the way across in one line using a running stitch. And so you can look at earlier videos that I have to figure out how we did the setup. But today we're going to work and do some side conversations again. I have this green that I'm going to use. It's not quite the same as this, but I'm going to use it to complement this color down here. I kind of like to offset and draw the colors together. So I'm really interested in seeing how this piece is going to be. And then if I have time in our conversation, then I'll maybe start doing a few lines on here. I don't want it to be all green. I'm going to change it up a little bit, but let's get started. So I have my thread. So today is really a conversation, a side conversation about when you do this practice, when you're doing this rhythmic stitch back and forth, what are you thinking about? How is it supporting either your mental well-being, the energy that you're coming with, or the lack of energy that you're coming with after a day of, and again, I'm assuming that most of you are educators or teachers or in the field of education, but if you're coming along and you're not, you're welcome to join us. We will talk a little bit about education topics. Oh, bummer, I didn't love my thread too much and I've got a knot here. Happens to the best of us. I'll just try to pull it out if I can. There we go. Usually it just kind of gets kinked in. And I didn't double my thread today, and that one's coming apart. So we'll see how this goes. Anyway, so how could this practice really support us, and what can we think about? And as I was thinking about that, I have a book that I will reference below that's really a workbook about how to embed creativity into your day, one little practice at a time, or maybe some of the activities take more than one. And while we're working on this, I was going to read a quote from the author. And it's about what we started with. This is a practice with no agenda. This is a process. We're not really focusing on a product other than we will end up with a piece of cloth. It has some lovely stitching, and we may just really love it and have some plans for it after. And I do want to do a video about what you can do with this when you're finished. If you feel like it's just kind of wasteful to do all this and have nothing in. But again, that's not the purpose. So it's not really the focus of what we're doing. If it's just something that happens after, great. If not, we'll just put it on the side and maybe come back to it another day. I actually have plans for that in the coming months to come back to our work. So Philippa Stanton writes about creating with no agenda. And she writes that being able to create with no agenda, no necessity and no reason, can unconsciously ignite our imaginations and be very liberating. There's more, but we'll stop with that. Think about that. Ignite our imagination. How are we doing that? Do you feel a sense of burnout in engaging in your day? Do you feel like you have no energy or brain power left to sit and come at home as a parent or a wife, or even if you're single and you're coming home to an empty apartment, maybe engaging in something creative doesn't seem like the way to go to reignite. And she goes on to say, sometimes we are pigeonholed into areas that only represent one particular part of who we are, even though our capabilities may be much more far-reaching. So what do you think of that idea? That sometimes we're pigeonholed into areas where we're so focused on who we are. And let's sit for a little bit on our identity as a teacher. Do you ever wish sometimes that you could just take a break from that identity? You know, how many times have you gone to the store and you've seen a student who's so excited to see you in a place that they never would have guessed that their teacher goes, because they think that their teacher lives at school, and there you are, your teacher identity is activated, and now there's a whole different set of you. I really believe that engaging in this practice, even if it's a pause for 10 minutes, what am I thinking about when I'm doing that? Sometimes I find myself not thinking, or it seems like I'm not until I become self-aware, and then I realize, oh, I'm thinking about this. I'm really worried about tomorrow, and I'm worried about how the student is going to do, and how can I set them up to be successful in this particular activity or product that we're going to work on. Or I might worry about a student at home, and maybe they had a hard day, and I'm worried about what is happening at home. There's lots of different things that we take with us. And we also need some time and permission to let go of those things. These are things that I'm trying to put into practice with my own young daughters, because I want to try my best to set them up for not carrying things a lot. And so there's lots of different things that we're carrying home with us. And if we don't take the time to really think about them, and then give ourselves permission to let them go, or not to carry that anymore, then we'll often carry it, or we'll carry it without even knowing it. So I know that might feel like a stretch to several of you who have just joined or are engaging in this practice and are thinking, I never thought of sewing as a time for meditation or reflection. And that's why I'm creating these videos, because I really feel like there's something to that. Excuse me. And I really feel like just taking this little bit of space, and myself taking this little bit of space and time to share this with you, hopefully is being a mirror, so that you can see, yes, somebody else thinks that this could be possible. Somebody else sees value in this, and maybe I can try that too. Philippa goes on to say, if you're naturally good at something and have developed high standards within your comfort zone, you may find it difficult to explore unknown areas. So engaging in something that's out of your comfort zone, and if this type of sewing is out of your comfort zone, then this may meet that requirement for you. She goes on to say, that is why it's necessary to try to break things down and add an element of the unknown. Repetition will always help harmony, but it is variety that provides the interest and spur for new ideas. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about while we're working a little bit on this piece, your piece. And I'd be curious, those of you who find this channel and have some ideas, it's a little glue right there, go ahead and make some comments about how you might engage in this practice and what you might be thinking about. How can this practice actually be a little bit self-regulating? Or how can you find it, the time doing this, freeing by trying something new, or using the time to reflect, or even just focus on your thoughts and where they flow, so that it can help you identify a little bit of something you have been carrying and didn't realize, and give yourself permission to let go, or sew it into this, and think about it. And then when you're done with that section, let it go. Tie it up in a knot, literally, and just let this be an abstract version of that thought. You cut it and you literally let it go. Until the next time when you come into this practice and you sew something into it, and then you let it go for your day as best as you can. And if you do that often enough, you'll get better and better at it. So I'll leave you with that, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I'll see everyone again on Wednesday.